A pod of hungry killer whales attacked a lone defenseless whale calf. It seemed that the sea predators would now tear the whale to pieces, but at the critical moment, someone completely unexpected came to his aid. The vast expanse of the Pacific Ocean hides many secrets and mysteries. One ordinary day, a group of marine biologists went out to sea on their research vessel. They planned to study the migration of gray whales, but fate had prepared for them a simply incredible discovery. Early in the morning, when the sun was just beginning to paint the horizon in delicate pink tones, the attention of the scientists was drawn to an unusual sight. In the distance, they noticed a lone baby whale, which seemed to be lost in the endless waters of the ocean. The ship approached cautiously to get a better view of the situation. The baby whale looked scared and disoriented. He was still very small, clearly in need of his mother's milk and care. The scientists watched with alarm as the baby desperately spun around, making plaintive sounds as if calling for help. The biologists quickly realized that they were looking at a baby blue whale, the largest animal on the planet. But where was his mother? They began to search the area for an adult, but to no avail. The baby whale was completely alone in the middle of the vast ocean. The team decided not to intervene directly, so as not to frighten the poor thing even more, but they continued to monitor him. They hoped that his mother would appear soon. Hours passed, but unfortunately, the situation did not change. The baby whale continued his desperate attempts to find his mother, swimming farther and farther from the shore. By midday, the scientists noticed alarming signs. The whale calf was beginning to run out of strength. His movements became less energetic, and his cries grew weaker. The biologists understood that without his mother's milk, the baby would not survive long. Suddenly, the sea around the whale began to churn. A group of killer whales had spotted easy prey. The black and white predators began circling the defenseless baby, gradually closing in. The scientists on board the ship watched in horror as the tragedy unfolded, feeling helpless. The killer whales, known for their excellent group hunting skills, launched an attack. One of them, the largest, lunged at the whale, aiming for his tail fin. The strike was precise. The predator grabbed the baby's tail, trying to pull him underwater. The whale calf resisted desperately, but the forces were too unequal. His plaintive cry echoed across the water, filling the observers' hearts with pain and compassion. It seemed that the baby's fate was sealed. Just a few more minutes, and the killer whales would tear him to pieces. But suddenly, something incredible happened. The sea surface heaved and huge dark bodies burst from the depths. It was a group of humpback whales. They seemed to appear out of nowhere to help a whale of a completely different species. The scientists couldn't believe their eyes. Humpback whales, which usually avoid encounters with killer whales, now deliberately attacked the predators. Their massive bodies crashed into the pod of killer whales, disrupting the hunters' coordinated attack. The sea turned into a real battlefield. Humpback whales beat their enormous tail fins against the water, creating powerful waves. These strikes confused the killer whales, preventing them from focusing on their prey. But the humpbacks didn't stop at just diversionary maneuvers. They used their massive pectoral fins, reaching 5 meters in length, as weapons. Blows from these half-ton fins could be fatal, even for experienced hunters. The killer whales, unprepared for such fierce resistance, began to retreat. But two particularly large humpback whales weren't going to let them escape so easily. They gave chase, driving the predators farther and farther from the scene of the fight. The scientists on board the research vessel could hardly believe what they were witnessing. They feverishly recorded every detail of this incredible event, realizing that they had seen something truly unique. When the orcas finally disappeared from sight, the team was relieved to see that the baby whale was still alive. He was scared but unharmed. The humpback whales, having ensured that the danger had passed, began to slowly swim away, in different directions. However, they did not leave the whale alone. One of the humpbacks, a large female, swam up to the baby and began to push him in a certain direction. Biologists realized that she was trying to take the cub to safer waters. Over the next few hours, scientists watched as the humpback whale followed the calf. She swam alongside him, occasionally gently nudging him, as if trying to comfort him after the stress he had experienced. The sight was so touching that some of the crew members could not hold back their tears. By evening, the researchers noticed a group of blue whales in the distance. The humpback whale, as if realizing that her mission was coming to an end, began to direct the whale calf in their direction. It was as if she was handing over the baby to the care of his relatives. The blue whales showed interest when they noticed the calf approaching. One of the females swam closer, carefully studying the baby. After a few minutes, she seemed to have made a decision. The whale calf was accepted into the group, and soon they all began to slowly move away together. The humpback whale watched the group retreat for a moment, then turned and swam away. Her mission was accomplished. She had saved the life of a defenseless creature and given him a chance to survive. The scientists were shocked by what they saw. They couldn't believe they were witnessing such an amazing display of interspecies care and altruism. This story changed their understanding of whale behavior and their emotional intelligence. In the following days, the team continued their research, but people's thoughts kept returning to the amazing rescue. They began collecting information about similar cases, and soon discovered that this was not an isolated incident. It turns out that humpback whales have been seen several times in situations where they defended not only their own kind, but also representatives of other species from attacks by killer whales. This made scientists think about the reasons for such behavior. They were particularly interested in an incident that occurred in the waters of Antarctica several years ago. A humpback whale had saved a seal from killer whales. This incredible event was even captured on video and shocked the scientific community. According to eyewitnesses, the seal, escaping from the pursuit of killer whales, unexpectedly found refuge on the body of a humpback whale. He hid in the notch of its huge side fin. Moreover, the whale, instead of shaking off the uninvited passenger, took an active part in rescuing him. For 20 minutes, the humpback whale swam on its back, keeping the seal safe. He maneuvered, leading the killer whales away from his charge until the danger passed. Only after this did the whale carefully lower the seal back into the water. This incident, like the story of the whale calf that the team observed, forced scientists to reconsider their views on the emotional world of whales. They began to understand that these amazing creatures were capable of much more complex feelings than previously thought. The researchers spent several months analyzing the collected data and comparing it with other known cases. They concluded that only a deep sense of empathy could explain such behavior in humpback whales. These huge marine mammals seemed to have an innate desire to protect the weak and vulnerable, even if they were members of other species. This discovery raised new serious questions for science about the nature of altruism in the animal world. The story of the whale rescuers spread around the world, touching the hearts of millions of people. This discovery had far-reaching consequences. Not only did it change the scientific understanding of whale behavior, but it also influenced public opinion. People began to look at these amazing sea giants in a new way, realizing how complex and incredible these creatures are. Increased interest in whales led to greater measures for their protection. Governments of many countries tightened legislation aimed at preserving marine mammals. New marine reserves were created, and existing ones were expanded. This is how, in our world, which often seems cruel and indifferent, there is room for selfless care and compassion. And sometimes these lessons are taught to us not by people, but by the amazing inhabitants of the sea depths. Who knows? Maybe by continuing to study these sea giants, we will not only learn more about nature, but also discover something important about ourselves.